I say Calendar Girls, and you say, unless you've watched a documentary lately, it's probably not what you're thinking. The love of dance and glitter bonds an unlikely group of 60 plus women in Southwest Florida, the Calendar Girls. But under the veil of fake lashes and unicorn horns lurks the deeper truths of what aging women face within society. Sisterhood, love, loss, all come into play in this uplifting film about trying to age on your own terms and refusal to become invisible. My guests on this episode of The Calendar Girls, which premiered at Sundance this year and since has then played at over 40 festivals all around the world and opened theatrically in the US this year. The film is made by the first-time filmmaker couple, Maria Loohufvud and Loohuvvud Martinsen, and they will forgive me for the pronunciation of both their names, hopefully. They are both from Stockholm, Sweden, and they join me together on this show. I cannot wait for you to dive into this episode with me, but if you are taking me for a walk, you're listening on your commute, or you're doing a workout, you are absolutely going to want to go to the show notes where you can click on and learn where to see a screening. I got to see the full-length film in a preview for this episode interview, and I promise you, you want to see it. Hello to you both. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Well, okay, so this is really a first, quite frankly, for as far as interviews go and talking with producers of film and docuseries. This is not something I do every day. So I'm going to potentially ask you some questions that are like out of my typical frame, but I want to ask you first of all, like, why this film? How was the idea for this? And do you call it a documentary? But how was this born?
We call it a documentary. It is a documentary, and it was.
But it's true. It has some choreographed segments, so maybe that's why you asked. Yeah. But it is a documentary, definitely.
Yeah. And the reason we started doing it, we were on vacation in Florida with we have two kids together, and our youngest son, he was only 3 months old. So we were in Florida vacationing for a longer period. And we were at this kids event one day that was called Touch a Truck. They had this street in the city of Cape Coral. They had closed off a whole street and filled it with like all the big cars you can think of, fire trucks and like police cars, everything.
And our oldest son was like 3 at that time, and he was crazy about cars. So we went there because he wanted to go.
So we were there having a great time with them, and all of a sudden, this group of women climb up to the back of one of the trucks and start dancing and performing there, and we were just blown away, I think, by the whole appearance, and it opened up so many questions to us who they were, and we got a lot of emotion, feelings when we saw them.
Yes, so the subject, it came to us. We didn't
look for it.
No, in some ways maybe we didn't. We did because we had an idea about doing a film together, something together. We never done it before, but we had an idea about it. So maybe our mindset was was right when we saw them.
We had an idea that we were starting about, like we were interviewing Swedish people living in this area in Florida. So we had an idea about maybe making a film about them. So we had some, our minds were in the filmmaking state, I guess.
Yes, but the Calendar Girls.
No, and you asked why I hesitated as far as documentary. I think why is because there's also there's also underlying stories like about the women in it. So I wasn't sure, and so I'm going to ask, what was your mission? I mean, what do you hope viewers go away with? How they feel, what they think. What is your mission in creating this?
I think there are. The mission is, I think it was pretty clear from the start. We didn't know who the film would be about. It's a big group. It's about 30 women. So there were a lot of things that we didn't know when we started. We just started to film, but we wanted to be we want the viewer to be inspired, like we still are with this group, and also to think about your own prejudice you have about women in the 60s, 70s, because they made us face our own prejudice against older women. And we're thinking about this for 4 years now.
Yeah.
And we hope that the viewer also start to think a little
and
bit.
I think it's been really awakening for us too, like the whole ageism that's built inside. You have that like built in you, and I think for us it has been an awakening, just realizing how much ageism there is in society. And so that's also part of the mission with the film, is to try to change that in the world,
and also make a film that is about this period of life, that because it's not that many films about it. There are films, of course, about people in this age, but many of them are sometimes it's about people having some kind of disease. Maybe you have dementia. It's been a lot of this kind of films this year. Or they are the grandmother. They're not the main subject. Or if it's a documentary, it's a lot of times it's about things that happen in the past, that people sit and talk about their lives. But we were not interested in that. We were interested in what's happening now in their lives, because they have so much to give and so many more years to live. It's not to sit on the sofa and just remember. So that's also a mission, I think.
And I think, like you said, when you see films about older, especially women, there's always this stereotype of what a woman is in that age.
Yes, many of these women are grandmas too, but
you can be more than just a grandma. That's something we really want to show with the film.
So I'm so very interested in hearing, how has it been received? What have the comments been?
It's been very good.
Yeah, we were talking about yesterday that we almost never heard anyone say anything bad about the film. It speaks to a lot of people, I think.
Yes, people understand it at different levels. Some people say it was fun, and for some people it's very emotional, and so But
I think that's part of the power of the film, because it's a complex subject, and it's a lot of harder things and darker things, but it's packaged in this light form that if you're not ready or you're not willing to take in all of this, you can still see it and just enjoy it as a fun film, because they are very inspiring, and they are fun to watch. So,
but I think it's been interesting because we are from Sweden, and we have, I guess, a Swedish European perspective in some ways. But we've been traveling with this film in the US a lot, and also we've been to South Korea and other parts of Europe that we're not that familiar with, like Greece and Italy. And I guess we thought before showing it that it would be bigger differences what people would ask us about, because at the Q&As after the screenings at the festivals, I think the questions has been so similar, actually.
It has been very similar.
It's been women in Italy, South Korea, Sweden, the US. It seems like they
it's a very universal subject, and I think
been interesting.
That's been very interesting for us to learn.
It's a small world after
Yeah.
all, right?
Yes.
So, and when you say, some of it is dark, I think what you mean, at least what you evoke for me in the memory of watching, were two specific instances. I think that really popped out. So, I'm wanting to ask, were these true stories, or were they just threads of truths maybe that you sewed in and embellished? But the two that I think about were one where there was really some resistance, some external resistance or lack of support from a spouse, about doing this. And, a woman was struggling with that herself. And the other one was the woman who was struggling with illness, who actually was a part of the group and loving it, and then dealing with not being able to physically handle doing it. Those were the two dark spots. But how much was this is truth? I mean, this was one of those women's story versus a story that you drew together for it.
It is their stories. This is what happens. But I guess the way it could be our stories, because we filmed so many women from the start, and then it narrowed down to these stories. So we were, when these things happened, we were interested, and our cameras turned to them. So in that way, we have written the film, if you call it like that. But
but everything that happened has happened, and
it has
all
happened.
is real. But the selection, when you make a film, you make a selection on what do you want to show the viewer, and so of course, you put together the pieces that tell our story. And
we made a selection, but it's nothing is written, nothing is made up.
So what was, you're alluding to it, what was your creative process in doing this? I mean, what did it look like in starting and your vision and then it actually coming to, it's up on the screen?
Yeah, it's been chaotic and fun, because this is our first film that we ever made. And we started with knowing nothing about how you craft a film. So in the beginning, there was just energy and enthusiasm and no knowledge. And then it's gradually been going between those. Like you learn more, and then you get. I mean, it's hard to keep the energy of a project. We've been working with it now. It's almost 5 years ago we started. So just to keep that energy, it goes up and down, I guess. But I think it's been mostly fun almost all the time. It's been very few times where we
sometimes very stressful, sometimes very well.
Yeah, and we've been working with it like day and night it took 4 years to finish the film. The film was finished almost a year ago now, so it was 4 years of the process of filmmaking, and we've been working almost day and night for this period. So being able to do that, I think you have to enjoy the process of it.
And that's also one thing that a more experienced filmmaker that we know, a director, she gave us the advice when we just started. She gave us the advice, okay, do you want to spend 4 years with these women? Because it's going to take a long time, and you have to love them. You have to, because you will become friends. So make sure that before you jump into this project too deep, you have to, you never know what happens, but at least as a start, you have to feel excitement and that you love the people that you portray. And we really did. And I think that's been important to continue to do it.
And we also came in with a lot of naivety. Like we had a lot of people told us in the start, don't do this, don't do a feature documentary. It's really hard. It's almost impossible to make one, and you have no experience, and just do a short film and start there.
So much encouragement.
Yeah.
Right?
Some people were, of course, were
Yes.
very encouraging, but we got this a lot, like because it is really hard to do it. But we try to keep this naivety the whole way through the process. I think just when people say something's hard, it almost pushes us more to do it because I don't know why really, but
I don't
but
know,
it
but
really
it's
helps the process. Like
like,
if someone says something,
how hard can it be?
yeah,
We try.
then and that's I think that's why we've done it this way. We have done everything ourselves from start to finish, and people said get some help from someone experienced, put in some more experienced people, and we tried that and it didn't work out.
But
So
what we have done is that we have a lot of experienced people around us. So even though we have made everything ourselves, filming, editing, directing, producing everything, but we have people that have watched the material
and
a lot of times and given us advice, giving us
I think without that we wouldn't have been.
No, that has been
far.
so important to share with other people, because we need advice. Everyone does.
Yeah.
So,
but that's always
so. No, I was just going to say, so coming back to, I mean, you premiered at Sundance. That's kind of a big deal. And since then, you've played at over 40 festivals all around the world, opening theatrically in the United States this year. What has been the change for the group, the Calendar Girls? What's happened for them?
They got a lot of attention, of course. Yes.
Yeah.
They were supposed to come and dance at Sundance, and they were so excited about it. But yeah, well, it went virtual just 2 weeks before because of the pandemic. So that was
a lot. So much has happened since, because we filmed in 2000. We finished right before the pandemic hit the whole world. So a lot happened.
So you were in editing mode.
We came
during the pandemic. Fortunately,
very lucky about that.
I think we filmed our last week, like a month before everything closed down. So we were very lucky. But a lot happened with that, of course, because they couldn't dance. All of a sudden, they couldn't do what they were doing, and they started doing dances. Filming themselves at home, practicing. But it's not really the same thing.
But then they came together again.
Yeah, then they started being able to be outside and coming back. So.
And then they were supposed to come to the opening in New York like a week ago, but what the hurricane Ian was so hard on this area, and it's been so much. Well, everyone is safe, so that's at least a good thing. But it's been so hard on this city, so they couldn't come. So, but I think that the film has been.
The film is really, I think they are getting so much positive things out of the film, and people are reaching out from all over the world to them. The film was screened in Swedish television a few weeks ago, and they got some email from a Swedish gentleman who wanted them all to move to Sweden and come. So I think it's been really fun for them to get response from all over the world.
But they still focus on Southwest Florida. It's a local dance team.
Yeah, they work really hard with they have their thing that they have to stay focused on.
Yeah,
and the film is just a bonus for them. It's like
so in some ways it hasn't changed. They still do what they do.
They do exactly the same thing.
Go to nursing homes every Tuesday to perform. It's of course it has affected them, but also no.
So does the story of the Calendar Girls have life beyond this group or this show? I mean, what is next for the two of you?
Next for us, we've been saying for the last half year that we're going to start this. We have a few projects that we're wanting to start, and we've been saying let's start next month, and then something more happens with the film and we have to continue working with that. It's been going so well, so all the work just.
We're still working on this film,
yes.
but yes,
So,
yes.
but our plan is now because it will be released. It's open theatrically now in the US, and that's for us. It's, I think, after this we can relax a little bit and start some new projects, hopefully.
Yes, and we have some in mind that we want to start. But as our kids are now in school, we have to be more based in Sweden. But well, we'll see. We want to travel as well, and we want to do more things in the US. So we see what happens.
So let's go back just a step and talk about, so before you did this, so you'd said, I mean, literally, you kind of just jumped off a ledge, right? I mean, you had never produced any documentary. You just liked the idea, thought this story needed to be told. It inspired you. So you thought maybe it would inspire a lot of others. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think this is your story.
Yes.
So how do you do this? And did you get funding or investors and other people who thought this is a great idea? Because you've got children, so I assume somehow you have to have, a way to put bread and butter on the table. That was a terrible analogy, by the way. Any flipping 50 members who are listening, we're not really meaning that. Okay.
Of course. In the beginning, we didn't have any funding. We started just filming. Because we've been working, we had some other jobs that we could do. We're both freelancers, and then we started applying for funds here in Sweden, and we got some grants to explore the idea and see where it evolves, and then from there it just grew.
Then we got some more, and then the Swedish television came on board, and then some other Nordic television as well. So it's been funded by Sweden
government,
and
I guess.
the Nordic countries, Scandinavian countries,
and also by ourselves. We put in not only money but also
especially
a lot of time.
But we've been lucky enough to have this system, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's.
So can I ask, and I'm not sure if you can answer this question, but I'm wondering if the funding had to be based on something. Was it based on the idea that they liked this topic, like that you were addressing ageism and older women, or was it something else?
Yeah, exactly. It's in Sweden we have government fundings for filmmaking, and you can. With documentary, it works like you apply for funding to explore an idea, and if it's something that they think can become something, you can get some more money, and then
so you can get a little bit at a time. First for development and research, and then if they believe in the project.
Yeah. So during the process, you show them your material, and you discuss the possible ways of it going. So
I think it's different parts. One part is of course the cinematic quality that you present, if it's good enough, but also like you said, the subjects. I think they could see there is a need for stories about women over 60. So I guess that was a big part of why
there's so many talented filmmakers in Sweden. So, and there's not that much money to fund everything. So it's really hard to get into this. So I guess for us, as coming with no experience, you can see that there really is a need for these kind of stories, because no one else are telling. If someone else with more experience had come with this idea, they probably would have given the money to them.
Yeah.
So I guess they didn't have that many films about this topic, so they had to take our idea.
They had to.
They were forced to.
But it's hard to say no to calendar girls. When you see them, it's like you can really see that.
But sometimes we had to, we got to know, and we had to develop and more and come back 6 months later. And okay, what about this? What do you think about this? And then it's been a long
something
process.
You learn as a filmmaker, that you have to take a no in the right way, not to let it discourage you and stop doing. You have to just push it harder. So
Yeah.
we really learned that, and that really translates to all
And
areas
listen
in
to
your
their
life.
feedback as well, because most of the times it's
just try to
you need to hear it and work harder and do better.
But never give up. It always works in the end. If you never give up, it always works. It's like, and that works in almost all areas in life.
Almost.
So true. I would love to hear from each of you individually. What Maria does this Calendar Girls documentary, what does it mean to you to have produced it?
Oh, that's a heavy question. It's been, it's both. It's like you could answer that in a lot of different ways. In one ways, it's a new career, of course, because I've been working as a graphic designer before, and this is something else that I want to do more in my life. But also, it's been very inspiring for me to do this because I'm in my 40s, and you start to think about these questions to get invisible and so they have become in some ways role models for me, how to get older. In many ways, I want to be like a calendar girl. But also it's been a good thing, I think, to work together. Has also been a very good experience for us as having 2 kids together and to also do creative stuff together. So I guess it means a lot.
Yeah, lots of layers, as I would imagine it would. Okay, now you have got the advantage of sitting and listening to that. So we gave you a little extra time. I'm expecting a big answer here.
Let's see. I think in some sense, it's just a big pride that we managed to pull this off. Like starting from with nothing and ending up where we did. It's like you feel a great pride that we were able to do this, I think. But also, as Maria said, just on a personal level, it really gave me. It removed all the stress about aging that I had from before. I think, like learning everything from them, like you see, the life can be even better when you reach their age. That you will get back what you had when you were younger. You can. That's the time to get back into stuff that you like doing then. So I think that's age stress is completely removed.
Yes, there will come a time when we can spend more time with our friends again and do creative stuff together. Because when you're in
this part of when our kids are 4 and 7, and you don't have that many hours of the day left. Not that is at all bad, but you can. It really helps to know that it won't be too late to do all the other fun stuff you want to do.
Very true. Well said. Thank you so much, both of you, for, first of all, really for jumping in, for producing it, and for sharing that story. There are just, I think your answer to your question, Maria, really stated it best. There are so many layers to the value of the film, and a viewer can take what they want from it and will inevitably. So I so appreciate you both for being here. Thank you again.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes.
And listeners, okay, it's now up to you. So what I'd love for you to do is to put your questions or your comments in the show notes. And you can do that at flipping50.com/Calendar Girls. And we will have all the links so you can learn more about the show, more about the Calendar Girls, and how to connect with them also on Instagram and Facebook. What are you waiting for? Let's start flipping 50 today.